All right, good to see everybody. It's been a while. Definitely a different type of signing day than we've all been, accustomed to through the years. So obviously, so much has changed, and but regardless of that, we're excited about where this team's headed. Some of the moves that we've been able to make from seeing our current players, getting those guys back, getting our mid-year signees in. Obviously we added a couple of transfers that we thought were great fits for our program, and so it's probably feels a little bit different on the outside. Within here, it's I think the excitement of returning players that you feel like can continue to improve and build on some of the success that we've had, and also again just a lot of exciting additions. Several in here right now, a couple more guys that we'll get coming in here in June as far as signees that we think are going to make a big impact on our program. So I think still the same sense of excitement for us as a staff right now. So um, this spring, as we look ahead, first starting with the staff, it's great to welcome Joe John Finley and his family back to Norman. As a guy we've gotten to know through the years, and certainly been have admired the job he's done at the different stops that he's had early in his career, and he's had a chance to coach at some very good places, and had a lot of great experience, and has really proved himself as a recruiter, as a position coach, an offensive mind, guy that has great experience on the special teams side as well. And the further we delved into that job, there was a lot of outstanding candidates, but that it just Joe John continued to make more and more sense for us. So we were excited to be able to get that worked out and bring another former player back here on our staff. And I think from that side of it, it's always great when we can add a former player, but we don't just add a former player just to do that. To me, it's a bonus. To me, it's you go find the best staff member, and if they happen to be a former player, that's great, but that's not the reason why. So, the job that he's done and how he's developed as a coach, and just the fit we thought for our program and what we needed in that position just made a whole lot of sense. So we'll get him out in front of you guys here, let him get his feet wet for a few more weeks, and then give you guys a chance to visit with him. But certainly excited to have him back, and off to a great start with him. Staff-wise, at this point, don't anticipate any other major changes. We'll have a couple new titles, a couple new things with guys, but I don't anticipate anything, any other changes at this point. Although we always know that's a possibility in our world. So excited about the staff we have. Obviously the full-time guys, and think that we're continuing to grow and improve together as a staff. And I think the continuity here has been so important. I think it's been key to any of the successes we have had, and I think it's important going forward as much as you can. Now if a guy gets a great opportunity to go be a head coach or to go take a major step up, then you're always happy for him. But I think us being able to have the continuity we have has, again, been critical, and not only with our full-time staff, but also our young coaches, because those guys are quality controls. Our GAs do such a tremendous job, and they're valuable assets. And we're going to be able to welcome back that group as a whole as well, which I'm very excited about. I think as top to bottom, it's probably the top quality control GA staff that we've had, and these guys really make a big impact. Ty Darlington, Eric Rand, Connor McQueen on the offensive side, Parker Henry, Will Johnson, Austin Woods on the defensive side, and then Ryan Doherty, special teams, who jumped in for Coach Beamer a few times last year. Those guys have been outstanding, and they're all going to be great coaches, and are going to get some big time opportunities here pretty quickly. But we're excited to have all those guys back and a part of our team once again. From the player side, and certainly looking ahead at spring, the hope is, I think like everybody is, the hope is that we could have a quote unquote more normal spring. And I do feel like it's I do feel like there's some momentum towards that and an expectation that we will be able to conduct a more normal off season, a more normal, certainly a more normal spring football period than what we had last year. Uh, we're still in a pandemic. We're still taking the same precautions that we did during the season. That has not changed. We have not relaxed our standards. We have not relaxed our policies, our procedures. Our number one goal still hasn't changed, which is to keep these guys as healthy as we can, and then to do our part just as members of society to continue to try to fight against this pandemic and against this virus. So that certainly hasn't changed, but we obviously learned a lot during the season about how we can handle that and still be able to go about our business. And so that's still a big part of our everyday life up here. Off season off to a great start. Been very proud of the guys coming back, the energy, the excitement. I think there's a lot of momentum in this program, and you can feel that with our players. They were excited to get back and get to work. And then, like I said, the new additions have been very positive. Team's done a great job of bringing those guys along and getting them acclimated with our culture and with the way we do things. So, yeah, looking forward to, like I said, several weeks here of off season. Our plan is to start spring ball in late March, to have a spring game in late April, and and then obviously see where we're at from there. But that's certainly our plans right now, other than the recruiting piece, which is still up in the air. Our plans are to get to work and have a good full off season and a good full spring ball.
Okay, we'll go to questions. First one this morning will be from Ryan Aber, the Oklahoman, and then Eric Bailey. Ryan?
Yeah, Lincoln, wanted to ask you about the Tennessee transfers, what each of those guys brings to the table, and just how unusual was that to have a situation where you get three guys from one school, and how interconnected were those situations?
Yeah, actually the situations really weren't connected at all. Two of the guys we had, recruited, Wanye and Keyshawn, we had recruited both in the, in their original recruitment. We thought we had a pretty decent chance to land those guys, and I think we're right there pretty close, before they ultimately chose to go to Tennessee. And so I think it was pretty natural for them that when they made the decision to leave, that this was going to be one of the places they considered, because we had, built up some good relationships with those guys. So, those guys are just, it's like they took a 1-year hiatus, but almost feels like, we recruited them, we know them, especially Keyshawn. We really got down the road with him. So, yeah, but just, I think, they decided to make that they needed a change of scenery, and they, liked what we were doing here. And that was, those things came together pretty quickly. And so, Eric was a little bit different. Didn't recruit him as much, didn't know him as well, but felt like there was an opportunity here. And once he got in the portal, he reached out and expressed some interest, and evaluated him, and we thought he could help our football team. And so, yeah, I mean, they obviously know each other. They're, kind of different classes. I don't know that one caused another to leave. It wasn't really a domino effect type deal. I think it was three separate situations, and they just happened to be from the same university.
Appreciate it, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go to Eric Bailey, the Tulsa World, and then Joe Bettner.
Lincoln, when you're getting transfers through the portal, do you get a sense of their maturity during their second recruiting process? And what's it like to recruit established players who really can't afford to waste time with the process if they want to enroll and make an immediate impact in the spring?
Yeah, no, I think you do get a sense of their maturity, and I think, what they've learned and why they're leaving, and, what they're looking for. And I think for us, we try to just paint a very real picture of what it looks like here, and what's going to be expected, and what the standard is, and what the opportunities are going to be like. And the biggest thing is we don't want surprises. We want to know what we're getting, and we want these guys to completely understand what they're jumping into. And I think if both sides are for it, then it's great. Yeah, it's a little different. Some of the guys, again, like a Keyshawn, I mean, we, knew him, knew his family. I mean, so much of that had kind of already been said and done that it was, a little bit more just to the point of, here's our situation. This is your situation. Is this what you want to do? Whereas you get a guy that maybe is a transfer that you don't know as well, then there's maybe a little bit more to, building a relationship and just trying to get to know each other as fast as you can. And obviously, didn't have the luxury this year of bringing guys in on visits or anything like that. It was all done virtually, but it is still a little bit, each individual situation is different, but it's obviously a condensed timeline. And these guys have, this isn't a deal about facilities and all that sometimes high school guys get wrapped up in. This is a, for these guys, there's a little bit more of a business-like demeanor to it.
Thanks, Lincoln.
We'll go to Joe Bettner with the Norman transcript, and then Jason Kersey.
Lincoln, curious that you guys bring in a transfer quarterback, Micah Bowens. What stuck out about him just as far as when you were seeing him in the transfer portal? And, was it you didn't seem too pressed to bring in a third quarterback, but is it nice to have that going into spring football, having a bigger room?
Oh yeah, we were a fan of Micah coming out. Obviously watched him at Gorman and what he had done there, and we're very aware of him. And yeah, just one of those things that we had a couple guys leave the room, and we knew going into it that we weren't just going to take a guy, but at the same time, we thought if a viable option came up at the transfer portal at the quarterback position, that we were going to take a good look at it because just the room. The room right now, with Spencer and Caleb. I mean, you've got, right now that 2 scholarship players. And we lost a couple of, really good walk-ons out of that room too. And so it's, we knew we had to start to rebuild that room back up a little bit. And so we just said, hey, if a guy pops up that piques our interest that we think could come here and be a good player and obviously contribute and compete and be and come be what we expect out of that position, then we're going to take a look. And yeah, Micah went into the transfer portal, and we liked what we saw and had some good conversations with him and his family. And it was, he was, again, the interest was mutual and moved along pretty quickly.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Let's go to Jason Kersey of The Athletic, and then Bob Prisbillo.
Yeah, Lincoln, you touched on it a moment ago, but with Wanya and Key, the fact that you had recruited them before, I'm curious, with the transfer portal the way it is, do you ever feel like you're totally out on anybody? I mean, in the back of your mind, when someone signs elsewhere, is there any party that thinks, well, maybe in a year or two we can get them back?
Yeah, I think you have to be aware of that because it's reality right now, and so. Now I will say this: it hasn't changed the way that we operate. I mean, we're not the group that if a guy tells us he's not going to come here, that we end it yelling and screaming. I mean, that's just not who we are, not what we believe in. But it's natural to think that if you built relationships with guys, and now with the transfer portal and likely passing of the one-time transfer, it's a reality that we all live in now, and we've obviously. I mean, we've seen a lot of examples. I mean, Kyler Murray here was a great example of that several years back. So it's you never know what's going to happen with these kids.
Bob Prisbillo, Sooner Scoop, and then Mason Young.
Lincoln, you sort of had us prepared from with early sign day. You said you'd have a chance to go through the portal, try to find some players. Was this about what you thought it would be? And do you think it's going to stay like this, or is this like a 1-year exception because of the way COVID worked out?
Well, I mean, it's going to become a part of it. We knew we wanted to be pretty conservative with the first fall signing date. I don't know. It depends how you look at it. I look at it as almost like we were aggressive and that we had the guys that we wanted and we went hard after, and we really didn't. We didn't push really on anything outside of it. It was good how it worked out though for us because the transfer portal gave us a chance to. It was almost like in 3 segments. You had the initial signing period, and see what you get. We knew we wanted to have some flexibility after that. We left ourselves a lot of flexibility. Then the transfers start making their decisions, so we were able to kind of see what was in there and what we needed, and able to get a few guys there. And that made, honestly, today a lot easier, because then then the kind of the last part of the plan was, well, if there's something that we need that we don't get in the transfer portal, then we could look to sign them, out of high school today. And, yeah, with the guys we brought in, made today pretty easy. I mean, we didn't send out one in LI. We pretty much, we knew we weren't going to sign another high school player once the transfer portal shook out the way that it did.
Go to Mason Young with OU Daily, and then John Hoover.
Yeah, Lincoln, just curious about Robert Conglol and what you think he brings to your offensive line depth coming in from Arizona.
Yeah, no, we were excited about him. Another one that had some mutual interest when he got in the transfer portal, and really liked him on tape. He reminded us of a couple of guys that we had before, with some of his position kind of flexibility and some of the experience that he had. And so and obviously, gave us a little bit of depth in there with losing a couple of guys. And so, a guy that's played both center and guard, and we're going to work at both. And obviously we'll be looking to replace Creed, and which could come from, whether it's a current center in our program, or it's, shifting somebody into center. I mean, those are options that'll be worked through, but getting a guy like Robert gives us experience. It gives us flexibility. And I think he was looking for an opportunity to come do it at a place like Oklahoma and have a chance to compete for championships. And so, we had what he was looking for, and he had what we were looking for.
John Hoover with SI Sooners, and then Brandon Drum.
Yeah. Hey, Lincoln. You touched on it a minute ago. I wanted to ask you if you could follow up, maybe give us some more details of the mechanics of the recruiting process while the transfer portal is open. You're thinking, okay, we might get this guy. We're one of the finalists for this high school kid, but we can't put too much into that one because we might get something from the transfer portal. Can you kind of lay out the mechanics of how that shakes out through the end of December and into now signing day?
Yeah, the transfer side is just different. Like signing day, like this is the day, and they're going to sign. Most guys, if they're going to do it, are going to sign this day. Whereas the transfer could kind of come anytime, anywhere. There's not necessarily a deadline for that. So we knew obviously the majority of transfers were going to happen after the first signing period. So again, our mentality was let's go after the high school guys that we know we 100% absolutely want, and then let's not overdo that. Let's understand that. I mean, rarely do you get every single person that you want. That's a dream world, but that just doesn't happen very often for anybody. And so we knew we were going to leave ourselves. And even honestly, had we gotten everybody we wanted high school wise, we still would have had quite a bit of flexibility. We just did not have very many targets. And we had, I would say, about the flexibility that we expected that we would have. And transfer wise, you're gauging that. You're still at that time recruiting some high school players, just kind of trying to figure out, how are we going to fill the roster the best, and how are we going to address the positions of need the best. And, luckily for us, I mean, I think there was, some key impact guys that became available that were the right guys, the right positions. Again, some previous relationships already established that helped, wrap up some of those transfer guys pretty quick. And that helped us, because once we knew, a lot of those guys were coming, it was, we were able to be up front with a few of the high school guys we were recruiting and let them move on to other options, and made it, a lot cleaner and easier, I think, for everybody.
Thanks.
Brandon Drum, OU Insider, and then James Hale.
Yeah, Lincoln, you guys kind of managed this scholarship thing pretty well. I mean, with 110, it's supposed to go up to 110, and then you guys don't know what it's going to do next. Did you all, how hard was that for you guys to manage that, kind of going in, maybe not signing so many in 2021 and deciding, what might happen with the pro and transfers after the 2021 season? Was that something you guys had to sit down and just deliberate for a long period of time, or did you kind of have all that figured out right from the get-go?
No, I think it was just conversations ongoing, and just trying to I think we've just tried to do is not look, so directly in the moment. I mean, I think so many people, like this day and age, so many people get caught up on winning signing day. Winning signing day doesn't do anything. I mean, it's about just building the roster the very best you can, the best roster. And right now there's just so many different ways to build it than what we've been used to. And so, um, I think we had to be committed to it. I mean, I think a lot of people would have been nervous with signing the amount of guys that we did on that initial signing date, but I think we were very committed to our process and to our plan, and believed that we were handling it the right way. And I know if we could take it back or had a chance to do it all over again, I think we would do it exactly the same way. I mean, we're thrilled with how we've been able to build the roster, and not only in a nice mix of guys, because the transfers are great, and I think they're I have high hopes for all the guys that we've brought in, but also it is still important to continue to bring in young high school players, and we've we love the class of young guys that we've signed. Again, a lot of them are here already. And I think mixing those with a few of the transfers, and most of these transfers have multiple years available, it just fit what we needed right now. So I'm glad we're able to look forward and I think project this thing decently, and more importantly, I'm just glad we stuck to it, as opposed to panicking there at the end of December and trying to load up on a few more guys. We stuck to our guns, and I think it paid off.
We'll go to James Hale with KREF, and then Barry Trammell.
Lincoln, it's always fun to hear your thoughts on your newcomers when you get them in. I think you had 10 young guys, signees that you had come in. You managed things well when you lost guys because of transfer or whatever, but you were able to number-wise to get guys back in, so it's about a wash. How much has all the newcomers kind of energized the program a little bit here in the offseason, if any at all?
Yeah, they've done well. I would, me, I'm not the one to anoint somebody right off the top, but I just think the group they have done a good job of coming in and bringing energy and being eager. They're a confident group, but they also know they've got a long way to go and a lot of work to do. So it's been a good group. I mean, now we only started school a couple of weeks ago. I mean, these guys are just really a week and a half in the full off season, so we got a long ways to go. But they've done a good job. I mean, they look good on the hoof, and they're working. They're very eager. I think talent-wise, I would say these guys are at, or even maybe a couple of them, maybe a little further ahead of what we thought they could be. And so much of that was a little bit unknown, because even though some of these guys have been committed for a while, we've known them, and we haven't seen these guys. I mean, when they walked in our indoor the other day, when they moved in, it was honestly a strange feeling, like actually seeing somebody in the flesh, other than your family member or a player or staff member. It was kind of like seeing them and talking to them and hugging them, and it was honestly felt weird. I mean, it's hard to explain, but yeah, it was. And then a couple of people, I mean, like in RK, I mean, we'd never met him before. That's the first time I've ever met him. So when he's moving in, several family members of a couple of the kids that I had a chance to meet, first time I ever met them, it was moving day in person, which is crazy. But no, it's a tight group. It's a talented group. I think a group's going to have a chance to. I mean, I think have obviously their impact down the line, but I do think there's the group as a whole is going to have a chance to have a nice impact on this team right now.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Go to Barry Trammell, the Oklahoman, and then Garen Emig.
Yeah, Lincoln, we're 11 months into the pandemic and hopefully nearing the end. But do you expect to take anything from the pandemic and keep it? Anything you had to change, whether it's scheduling, practices, communication, whatever the case? Do you see anything sustainable that you say, hey, this is something we can use even when times get good again?
Definitely. I mean, I think the way that we can communicate virtually, whether it's staff to players, players to players, staff to staff, I think there's some things we can do to improve quality of life and or become more efficient from the with what we can do virtually, that I absolutely think will carry through. That I think there's times that we can get the same things done and not all have to be necessarily in the exact same place. And so I definitely think we'll carry that. I hope we carry in we were allowed to do these OTAs this year, leading into fall camp. And I know there's been some discussion about possibly, limiting fall camp and some of the contact and all that in practice. And I thought those OTAs were fantastic and potentially give you a shorter runway into the season. And I thought they helped prepare players, and I definitely hope that that's something that we continue doing. There may be a few other things off the top of my head, but those are the first two that hit me when you asked the question.
We'll go to Garen Emig, Tulsa World, and then Daniel Dwyer.
Lincoln, you okay with addressing Buki?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about it as I saw the news break last night, and the thing that kept coming to mind was fairness in terms of expectations for a kid even before he's gotten into a program, and they were obviously through the roof for Buki, but also fairness in how people react to his career when in terms of how he does compared to those expectations. Is that something that we ought to consider in his case as kind of a cautionary tale?
Well, first thing I would say is I certainly hope his career here is not over. We'll see how it plays out. He's had a great impact here. The people here within the walls probably understand that a whole lot better than the people outside. Everybody's got to realize, when he came in here, obviously he had a lot of, there's a lot of hype around him. And he walked into a defensive situation that year that was very, very tough. And a lot of that got put on him from a public, certainly not within these walls, but from the public. And that's the nature of the beast. And that's the good with the bad. And think about that kid. That kid's had so many great moments here, whether it being game-saving interceptions, big plays that he's had, game-winning plays for us. He's been a huge part of just kind of our culture, helping young players. He's done a great job of, being involved with recruits and hosting guys on campus. He's been a great student and a great ambassador for our program. And so, if we can get the same amount of contributions out of all our players that we have out of him, then we're going to get we're going to get much better in a hurry. So he's been fantastic here. If he does decide to leave, then I'll be his biggest fan, and I think he'll have a lot of fans around here and a lot of people that'll watch him. And if he decides to stay, which is what I certainly hope happens, then we're going to have one great last run together.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go to Danielle Dwyer with Fox 25, and then Kerry Murdoch.
Yeah, Lincoln, I wanted to ask you about Ben Harris. I was able to talk with him after he said he was going to come in as a PWO, and his excitement for that and how quick it went then to reporting to campus the following week. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on what you saw from him that you liked and what you think he'll bring to that quarterback room. You kind of touched on the quarterback room earlier, but just curious your thoughts on Ben and what he'll bring to that room and your overall thoughts on the dynamic of that room now.
Yeah, no, that room, kind of like we said earlier, was one that we knew we wanted to add some pieces, and we knew regardless if we didn't know that we would grab somebody out of the transfer portal that we would scholarship. We didn't know if that was going to show up and that was going to happen, but we knew regardless that we wanted to look at and really target some of the best guys in the country that have been overlooked and that would be interested in a preferred walk-on spot here. And so Ben was one of the guys that we targeted and saw, and we made contact pretty quickly after season ended. We were able to get back in here and had a chance to really watch and evaluate him. And yeah, like the kid's skill set. Obviously he's been a winner. He's won at the highest level and done obviously a lot of it. He's obviously been coached very well and been part of a program that has high expectations and standards themselves. And so, Yeah, and it fit. I mean, it came together crazy fast. I mean, it's like Coach Gundy was on a phone call with him, and then it felt like he was like here like 2 days later. It came together very quick. But yeah, he's like anybody in our program, going to have an opportunity. We'll be excited to see what he can do and develop. But and yeah, like I said, that room is kind of ever changing, and that's kind of the world of quarterbacks right now. But we felt like it was the right time to add him and a couple other pieces, and so I'm excited about the room. There's a lot of new. It's really me and Spencer Rattler and Ty Darlington there in the room, and everybody else is a new face. So but it's fun. It's new skill sets, and guys are eager, and it'll be fun to watch those guys to compete and see how it shakes out.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have time for just one last one. Kerry Murdoch, Sooner Scoop, and WWLS.
Hey, Lincoln, I was wondering if you could talk. There are a lot of programs that are kind of making the transfer portal kind of like the new JUCO for them. I mean, kind of a way to get players in their program. Do you have concerns? I know there are rules in place, but do you have concerns about tampering, about, people kind of always targeting your guys that might not be starting, or, targeting, their family members or maybe people they train with? Is that a concern moving forward?
Definitely. I mean, no question. I mean, especially when, the majority of guys that, that will sign here out of high school are, for the most part, pretty heavily recruited players. So, hopefully, we keep, and I think we already have a little bit, but hopefully we keep strengthening the penalties, for that happening. And I think, you got to educate your players. And then I think the big thing is you just, again, I think goes back to your culture, and I think if you've got a culture and a program that players want to be a part of and they see opportunities with, and I think you can withstand those type of things. But, is it happening? Is it a concern? Of course. I mean, it's no different than people that cheat in recruiting. I mean, we all know what's going on. You wish more people would get caught. You wish it didn't happen. But to duck our head in the sand and pretend like it's not, it is. And like I said, hopefully we'll, on both ends of that, hopefully we'll continue to strengthen rules and people that are going to do that, hopefully we can make it to a point where if they want to do it, that's fine, but they're risking everything.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all our time for Coach Riley. Coach, appreciate you joining us.
All right, thank you guys. All right, sorry to jump back in here. Just I know you guys are going to visit with Coach Grinch here in a second, and then Coach Simmons after that. Wanted to just announce one thing before you guys visit with him, that Coach Simmons, we're going to change his title. He's going to add the passing game coordinator title, and then also be our assistant head coach. And so just wanted to announce that before you guys visit with him. He's been tremendous. Obviously for us, his record speaks for itself. As absolutely one of the premier receiver coaches in the country. He and Coach Gundy have done such a great job with our guys. And then obviously there hasn't, from a recruiting standpoint, the guy's track record speaks for itself. So, and for me, has certainly been a guy that I can lean on. Somebody I've got a very close relationship with, certainly one of my most trusted confidants as far as the staff. And there's several. The staff is so good, but he's just been fantastic and a huge key to our success, and felt like that was very appropriate. So certainly wanted to make this announcement here before you guys get a chance to visit with him. All right. Thanks.